Hi, everybody. Welcome to The Crunch. It's Tuesday and it's February and it's cold. How's everybody doing? Thanks for joining today. It's Rebecca here with Patrick. Yes. Do you have something to say? So busy into earnings already. We've got Google announcing tomorrow, obviously Microsoft and ServiceNow last week. Well, the Wall Street's talking about if AI is going to eat software. ServiceNow had some pretty great results last week. Talking about obviously CRM and industries as big fuels for growth along with AI. And so I'm delighted to have the man who knows all about industries and CRM and a little bit about AI too. The man, also known as the smoothest man in CRM. We'll talk about how he got that title. VP of Product Management for CRM and Industries at ServiceNow, Terence Chesire. Terence, thanks for joining.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on, Patrick, and great to see you too, Rebecca.
Yeah, good to see you too, man.
Quite the intro.
So quite the title. Is there an official competition for that? The smoothest man in CRM, or?
I didn't seek it, but I will own it. I'm really grateful, and I believe it was Brent and Paul who gave me, because you can only be given a nickname. You can't give yourself one somewhere along the way, but
right. No, that's great.
I appreciate it.
You know, it's such an interesting time to be in the space that you're in, right? As sort of industries come together and CRM comes together, and obviously you guys doing incredible stuff in the CRM space today, and I guess as you think about sort of 2026 is the year that CX and CRM sort of come together. Obviously, you've been in this space for forever. Am I the only one that thinks it's taken way too long?
I don't think you're the only one, right? Like with any good, meaningful tech, those of us who are in the industry see the tech coming along, get very excited for it. But any substantial transition that requires organizations, especially larger organizations and entities, to take it on, it takes time. It takes time to understand what it means. It takes time to actually evolve the org and the way we work to incorporate it. So I think 26 is the year where it needs to show up, the famous ROI, and showing that it actually does something meaningful rather than cool experiments and pilots.
Oh, that's a big watchword, right?
Yes.
The ROI moving forward. And certainly, I don't know, one of the things that we've seen in the AI space is it's not the tech that's holding us back, right? It's the people feeling comfortable actually turning things on beyond the sort of internal pilot phase. Is that what you're seeing with customers too?
Yeah, and it is the tech, but it's all the things that go along with a tech transformation. So one of the things we are very focused on, of course, from the beginning, is about how work gets done. That's the word, workflow. And it turns out you need to have a clear idea of what you want to accomplish and the best path, because that is how you overlay the technology. And we used to see it before because we've always been about automation and defining a workflow. And with AI and AI agents, you still need to do the same thing. And the people, the process, the technology all needs to come together, and it is a transition just like anything else.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting on the earnings call last week. Bill was talking about sort of the operating system for AI, and really it's that underlying workflow engine for all of it that creates the brains of the operation.
Certainly, right? So we have always had to coexist and orchestrate across and with lots of other systems. And the playground just got bigger. And as you heard last week, we have evolved and actually shown leadership in the changing times. And so we now can run on any of the major clouds, along with it is it turns out there's lots of frontier models that are required. And so any of the large language models, in addition to all the integrations to the systems of record that exist to orchestrate and automate.
And I know obviously there are a lot of partners involved in this for you guys as well, and the ecosystem is super important. You were at partner kickoff, what, 2 weeks ago?
Yes. And so the partner kickoff was one and the same with our sales kickoff because we think of them as integral to our strategy. And the partners span everything from software vendors who are part of our software ecosystem, especially in CRM with great partners like Terence for marketing automation and contact center providers like 3C Logic, but as well as service providers who consulting and implementation service providers who support all these customers and making that transition, as well as the hyperscalers and others who we and the large language model providers who you saw we also made announcements leading up into the earnings. And so that's what it takes to actually execute. Any single person who shows up and says, I have a single model or I have a single large monolithic AI agent that'll take care of anything, I'm skeptical and I've seen many people are questioning whether a single thing can actually execute and support, especially large complex organizations that have large complex environments and requirements.
Yeah, I mean, even if it could, it's not necessarily, back to your ROI point, the most cost-effective way to do that, right? I've got to orchestrate between systems and have systems talk to each other. You mentioned 3C Logic, and obviously you guys have partnerships with a bunch of the contact center providers and investment in Chesire as well with Five9 and NICE. As you think about ROI and the value that customers are getting, how are you thinking about what those ROI levers are when we're talking about AI? Because obviously the traditional kind of contact center, even customer service metrics around case handle time and those kinds of things don't necessarily apply anymore. How are you guys thinking about that?
So I love this just because for us, it's a story we've been telling for a while. And so it may be a bit trite, but I describe AI as just the next incarnation of automation. And we've always been about automation. And let me take a step back and talk about how we think about measuring CX, especially in the service realm. We think of it in terms of driving self-service automation. And one of the things we do is, and I have these conversations with customers all the time, just tell me the most frequently requested items in your organization, and you can actually define a workflow, publish it as a service catalog, and you get self-service automation. And one of the most impressive metrics that I see is how many things are your customers able to accomplish, the number of automations that you can execute. And each one of those are not, classic deflection, which is someone just came and saw an article and read and they were helped. It means they accomplished something. They ordered a service. For us ourselves, we are software providers, and so you can spin up your own software instance. You can provision for yourself. You can clone it. You can add users. You can manage your environment. These are tangible things that used to take a human, but they're orchestrated. Now, the power with AI is it does two things. It helps in two. We think of it as helping in two elements. One is it makes it that much easier for the customer to express themselves in their natural language. We've talked about it for years as technologists, but I like to say now it really is. Like if you can frame it in any way, verbally, through your voice, through text, through even images, the computer can understand you. And then the other part is with AI agents, which is really powerful. AI agents can orchestrate and automate that work across systems. And so these two things drive tremendous automation. And so I think the new metric will be how many things are you able to accomplish for your customers without a human touching them. And then for the things that do require human intervention, then the classical measures of handle time and so on still apply, but how much are you reducing that with AI?
But in the case of handle time, if I'm taking away, call it 70 to 80% of those customer requests, that means only the most complex ones or the ones that can't be handled by AI are getting to an agent. Maybe I want them to spend more time.
Exactly right. And so that's usually that transition that I mentioned where as you automate more and more of the things that you can automate that do not require human intervention or that your customers choose to self-serve in, we see that being a virtuous cycle. Then you're right. The things that you leave to humans are those that are either most complex or most emotionally fraught. So I sat across from a banking leader, and they said, we can automate a lot of things, but if you're taking out your first mortgage or making a large purchase, you usually want a human on the other side, and we want to be there for that moment that matters. And so you're right. You shouldn't look to reduce that, but even within that interaction, we can look at how much time is unhelpful. One of the things we look at is how much is the busy work leading up. So how much effort does it take for that banker to ramp up on everything about your background, what your situation is before they actually spend time with you. And so you can reduce that time, that lead up time. And so they can have the most effective conversation with you, and you don't try to shrink that, but the prep and the wrap afterward is what is dramatically reduced. And so back to that transition, it's rethinking that the human to human time is actually good. That should be what is held. But the times leading up and after are what you want to reduce and both reduce the effort and increase the effectiveness. And so you can check with the team members whether they feel like it's taking less effort, and it should feel better for them, and they should feel empowered, because most folks entered this business and this industry to help people and to have conversations with humans.
Yeah. So less of the busy work time.
Less of exactly the busy work. That's a great phrase.
Connection.
That may be one of the things we need to figure out how to measure is, reduction in busy work.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not just keystrokes. Right? As we think about sort of linking these systems together and going front to back office. I'm wondering about impact. Obviously, we've talked about impact before, and we've had folks from ServiceNow on the show to talk about it. How is impact kind of shaping your thinking about helping customer understand the metrics about AI, and how close are you working with impact team and saying, let's start to measure some of this stuff like busy work?
Yeah, so we started impact from a core cultural element that we've had from the very beginning. We even have it as part of our cultural ethos called Wow Our Customers. And so we have always been focused on making our customers successful. And the evolution to AI, like anything else, was a substantial transition, like all the other major ones we've talked about in the industry. And what we did at first was actually put product team members and engineers working with customers to understand how the technology first interacted in the wild. And now we're taking those learnings and building them into best practices and starting to come up with these measures. And so one of the things we're learning to measure is minutes on a task, or we were joking about it, but it really is minutes on that busy work. So of a given business process, how many minutes were spent on the ramp up and the transition out of it versus the actual core execution. And so that's how we show up with templates now of how to define a business process and how do you shrink that ramp up time. And so, the classical older technologies like summarization, but even now with AI agents that can pull together a comprehensive context for a insurance claim. And so what time does it take to pull together the insurance claim versus actually reviewing it and making a decision? And so how do we reduce the minutes on prep versus the maintaining the time on the actual work? And then the interesting work we'll be rolling out today is that just applying AI to that actual process, applying AI to the way we support you in implementing and rolling out and getting value out of the technology.
Yeah, I mean that's the sweet spot, right? Is figuring out how I actually measure it and make sure that I can track the value.
it's what it's all about, right? So if you talk to any business leader, this geeks like myself may get excited at the tech. They're always asking, okay, what does it actually do for us? What is the business value, and how does it increase customer satisfaction and increase customer outcomes, as well as improve employee satisfaction at the same time.
Yeah, and don't forget the actual employee satisfaction and employee engagement as well, right?
Exactly.
We burn out. That's a real cost to the business that we often don't think about.
And we've seen this interesting thing where at first there's concern, and there's even watched employees say this doesn't actually work, because they're sitting there watching an AI agent execute for a few seconds. But when you step back, they see how many minutes it saved them previously, where it took them, like I said, tens of minutes to pull together, collate all the material on this, that insurance claim example, where they're looking through emails, they're pulling out the recipients, they're tagging them. Who's the person, who's the party, who's the policyholder, who's the legal representation, collating everything before they even get to it. And we go, you jump right into it, and they go, wow, this is the best formatted, the most comprehensive view, and I can do exactly what I wanted. And then they get excited. And so it's just getting people through that transition. But I've seen it, like I just said, customers get happy, but employees also get more empowerment out of this process, because it takes out that busy work they never signed up for.
I want to go back to something you said earlier about sort of documenting best practices and some of the thought leadership you guys are doing, because I think that's so important, particularly as we're all on this very steep learning curve with AI, and the tech is evolving really rapidly. How are you thinking about the line between product management and coaching with customers, really providing that kind of thought leadership that says, not just here's the AI capabilities and what it can do, but here are the things that we've learned along the way that you can benefit from as a customer?
It's a really good point. We're working on it right now. And how do we build, just like we work with our customers to inform the AI with the content and the knowledge, how do we inform with not just the product documentation, but all the best practices and customer specific or human generated content around how to approach certain situations to inform this AI, these agents. And I like to think of them as domain specific agents, because they're bounded, they're smaller ones rather than large. But if you had a specific agent for your specific subset of ServiceNow implementation that coached you through that and actually performed and executed those things for you. And it's pretty exciting, the things that it can do. And some of the most exciting things we're seeing is, especially during transitions, how does it tell you what your previous environment was, what you had there, what decisions you'd made that were not well documented, and then laying out how you can apply it and implement it from that legacy software into our workflows and into our capabilities. And pretty exciting work, if I may say so. In addition to all the things that we're doing directly for customers, this meta concept of applying AI to that transformation is also pretty exciting.
So having the AI actually look at what's the process today, where are the gaps, where are the inconsistencies, and then propose what a smoother process.
Correct. Yeah, and look at product catalogs and pricing and say, you have this subset of items that you looks like you haven't updated them, or they're not linked to this set of prices are not linked to a sales program. And so you can look through the strata of what things have happened in the past and may have been overlooked. And so that's the best description of how the business, how they operate, more than they know themselves. And that's I think folks have talked about this, how one of the key things to get it to work is the right knowledge, the right information, but that is also missing. And so how do you get into to jumpstart that process so you have the basis for being successful?
That's really the key part of it, right? If I don't have the process and I don't have the knowledge, whatever agent I build is going to run as dumbly as I've enabled it.
Exactly. It turns out you do need to be deliberate and intentional about the business process, and it will, right? And so we start with pretty key, but not the most important, most elaborate, but pretty key processes that are, high on that busy work scale. And then we form that flywheel of, okay, just how many more of these can you turn on and automate? And like I said, I feel like we've been doing this for a while, because even if it wasn't AI, we were doing this with service catalogs, which are simply pre-writing out those workflows, what you need to execute for a customer. We help you model the customers and the products they own and what they're entitled to request. And then any way that you invoke those through any omni-channel then executes it. Now, the AI is just a much more exciting new way of executing on that, but at the core, it's still executing things for a customer.
Well, I like the way you separated before sort of the two pieces of AI, which is the conversational interface and then the actual agent. If you were to guess for the second piece, how much of it is actually workflow that is declarative versus something that actually needs to be probabilistic? Are we being too, are we still sort of first generation and thinking that it's all got to go to an LLM?
I think that's a false choice, because we're doing it already, right? Which is, you apply the AI to the parts that it's best at, which is reasoning and understanding some unstructured form. But like I mentioned in this, we work in a lot of industries, including some regulated ones, or even non-regulated ones, where there's just a defined business process, and it trapdoors directly into a deterministic flow. This is the way we handle an insurance claim. This is the way that we provision a new service order in telco. This is the way we fulfill a warranty. And these are the business processes, and so the workflow, the deterministic, is kicked off as part of the agentic flow. It's just that a human doesn't need to be part of it. But at the beginning, figuring out which business process, which product this is, whether this warranty is still in place, the decision into which workflow, that is what the AI agents are helpful for. And so it's both. You actually need both. And so we've been fascinated to see everyone else recognize the word workflow lately and say a lot of things about workflow, because we're like, welcome to the party. It is the deterministic and the probabilistic that is required to execute.
Yeah, no, that's a really important point. And I think so often we got so excited about thinking about the probabilistic part of it, we didn't recognize that actually workflow works pretty well in a lot of
It does. And I've had customers be very appreciative when I said, you should not apply AI to this business process. This is a known one, right? Say a warranty, right? If it is under this set date condition, you perform this warranty coverage. That is stipulated. That is in the contract. There is no probability. You should not apply a probabilistic entity to make that determination. Your customer will not like, maybe I will get this covered under warranty or not, because they themselves say, wait, it's under X years, it's still covered. This is what you've said that you can cover, right? And so now the cool thing is you can have them take a picture of that rather than a long, elaborate process. And that's the really fascinating part. The AI can recognize that image, recognize it's a covered part, and kick off that process. And that's the part that excites me, is dramatically reducing the friction for how do I get entitled? How do I get to that warranty claim process?
I love that. I love that. So we've just got a few minutes left, so I think it's about crunch time, right, Patrick?
It is crunch time.
So this is the part, crunch time, where Patrick comes up with the questions. Are you ready?
Let's go.
What do you think is the most overrated virtue?
Wow. Not sleeping.
Spoken like someone who just came back from sales kickoff.
Exactly.
Who is your favorite fictional hero?
Wow. The You're stumping me with these because I usually read nonfiction.
Or nonfiction hero?
I am drawn. I'm reading about the Supreme Court. I make a habit of reading about Supreme Court justices, and my most recent hero is Ketanji Brown Jackson and her journey to the Supreme Court. And so that's a recent hero. Completely different domain, but a fascinating story.
Okay. Why the Supreme Court?
It's a very different domain and so I try to pick a domain that's completely different than what I do for my day job, and legal is something fairly different from my day job, as you can imagine. And so just reading about it, and obviously it has a dramatic impact on our lives, but the process by which they go about it is fairly different than what we do in technology.
Sure. Sure. Completely different channel to switch to, right?
It is.
What words are most overused?
AI currently. I'll be
I'm
honest.
glad you didn't say workflow because I would have been considered AI. And finally, Terence, where are you happiest? What's your happy place?
My happy place is in that moment when working with a customer and you can see the light bulb go on. I truly believe in the tech not because for the tech's sake, because I think it can make things better. And that, like we were just talking about now, when they go, ooh, I see what it can do. I see how this can make it better. And if we do it just right, someone somewhere will have a better day, because especially in customer service, when you're reaching out to customer service, you're probably not having the best day. And so I like to think we make the world a little better every day, one interaction at a time.
I like that. I like that a lot. Making the light bulbs go on. Certainly made some go on today. Terence, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time on The Crunch. Have a good
Thank you for
afternoon.
having me.